Ahoy and welcome back once again to I Like Watches. I recently received a fairly new release by San Martin. This is the SN0115. It is one of their more original designs. Now, when I saw this watch online, I wasn't completely convinced it was going to work. The colours, I don't know, just didn't seem like they were going to go together. But now that it's turned up, I think it works pretty well. Now, I think what I've experienced with this San Martin is quite the opposite to what I experienced with a new release by Citizen recently. I recently reviewed a reissue watch and I was interested in that watch because I just thought it looked incredible in the pictures. It also has a new movement inside it, the E365, but primarily I bought that watch to review because I just thought it looked incredible, but when it turned up, I really was quite disappointed, whereas with this San Martin, it's definitely the other way around. How it looks in my hands is quite different to how I think it looks in the pictures. The colours actually work quite well. It's not the best looking San Martin I've ever seen. It's probably not even in my top 5, but it's definitely a lot better, looking in particular, than I thought it was going to be. And of course, with it being a San Martin, you can expect impeccable finishing, fantastic specifications. I'll put some specs on the screen and I will show you lots of macro shots of the incredible finishing. And if steel finishing appeals to you, if it's something you're interested in, you might want to check out a video I uploaded recently where I compared the steel finishing of 6 watches, including a Grand Seiko, a Timex and a San Martin, and that Citizen, of course, that I mentioned earlier on. And the results were really quite shocking. So yeah, San Martin came out on top to some degree in that video, and yeah, you can always rely on them to produce really beautifully finished watches. Right, I'm just pausing the review of this San Martin for a brief momento to give those of you that haven't done so already a moment or two to subscribe, maybe hit the like button and the bell notifications icon. I'm sure you're going to come back and watch more videos, so yeah, just smash those buttons for me, guys. Cheers. It is, of course, a dive watch, a 200-metre diver housing the NH35, and I think these watches are San Martin's bread and butter, although, like I've said already, it's one of their more original designs. Of course, they've made a name for themselves by producing some incredible homage watches, but they're now producing a lot more original watches and some homage watches that are, well, more like homage watches, not copies. Yeah, they're producing more watches that seem to take inspiration from other watches. So the brand is definitely moving in the right direction as far as I'm concerned. Now, it's not the first time we've seen this case or this bracelet or this clasp, and yeah, they've produced a few other watches that look a little bit similar to this one, although it's the first time I've seen them use these sort of colours. Interesting colours, aren't they? Green bezel, black chapter ring, a sort of goldeny brown dial and orange loom. It just shouldn't work. It really shouldn't work. And maybe you think it doesn't work. Like I said, I'm not saying it's the best looking watch San Martin have ever made, but it looks a lot better in my hand than it does in the pictures for sure. The loom is really interesting. I'll show you the loom degrading at the end of the video, along with a legibility test, which I like to include these days. And yeah, I don't know about this one. The hands might blend into that dial a little bit. Yeah, might not be the most legible watch, but it's certainly colourful, isn't it? Nice bit of colour on the second hand. It's orange. It sort of matches the colour of the loom a little bit. And there's a bit of a shimmer to that dial as well. Ceramic, polished bezel insert, diver's bezel, so 120 click unidirectional. Screw down crown, screw down case back, a beautifully finished bracelet. It's a sort of beads of rice bracelet. We've definitely seen this bracelet from them before, and yeah, it's one of their more interesting designs. Fantastic clasp. It contains that on-the-fly adjustment system, and it's really nicely finished. Perhaps a little bit too chunky for me. I've mentioned this a few times. I wear my watches on my left wrist and I write with my left hand, so I have to be a little bit conscious of how big the clasps are on the watches that I wear, especially if I'm likely to do any writing or typing. I don't remember the last time I actually wrote with a pen. But yeah, if I'm sat at a desk, I tend to notice chunkier clasps, I think, more than most people would. But it's not too chunky, and yeah, people love it. That's why they keep using it. Milled, obviously, solid everything, screw pins, sapphire crystal, double domed sapphire crystal with AR coating, drilled lugs, which is nice. Don't always see that from San Martin. Really nice bezel action as well. Super crisp. Have a listen. And the alignment is, oh, so close to being perfect, isn't it? Oh, if anything, it's a fraction to the left. I'm probably being a little bit picky. It's as near as damn it, I think. There is a ghost position on the crown. They've chosen to use the NH35, not the NH38. I mean, you're familiar with the NH35 by now. Surely 21,600 beats per hour hacks and hand winds. We complain about it, but we love it. The end links suit the case really, really nicely. They seem to fit really, really well. I've bought some feeler gauges. I think these are the sort of things you're supposed to use as a mechanic with spark plugs, but I've bought some to measure gaps in watches, in bracelets and end links and things like that. And as you can see, yeah, the tolerance is pretty good. And with it being a 200-meter diver and with it having a fairly substantial clasp and a solid bracelet, and with it not being too thick and too big, it fits me perfectly. It feels comfortable, good weight distribution all the way around my wrist, and yeah, I think it looks pretty good. Like I said at the start, not the best looking San Martin I've ever seen, but it definitely works better than I think it should. If you were to describe this watch to someone or maybe sketch it, I think people would be almost horrified. But yeah, when you actually have it in your hand, what do you think? Let me know in the comments section and perhaps add some feedback for San Martin to have a look at as well. I think they would appreciate some feedback on their more original designs. Yeah, helps them determine whether or not they're heading in the right direction, I think. Right, guys, as always, a massive thank you from me to you for tuning in. I do really, really appreciate it. And yeah, please, guys, take care. Look after yourselves. You'll see me again very, very soon. Or don't forget, if you've got any questions, let me know. Comment section or email me. oldmantimegary@gmail.com.